Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to talk about pole saws. We're going to talk about replacing the bar and chain filing tips. It's a little bit different than a regular chainsaw. So for instance, if you look at this Craftsman, this chain on it, you can see the C in the filing, but you see how deep the C is. Now I'm in the middle of sharpening this, but you see how it's literally like this, like a really aggressive C. That's what's gonna dig into the wood and pull that wood out. Now, because this is a short bar and I'm directly connected to it with my hands, that can be pretty aggressive, depending on how strong my chainsaw is, which this one isn't very strong. You can hold on to that and you can pull wood and make big chips. I don't like that type of stuff. Different type of racing chainsaws, all that type of stuff, those are for bigger chips. But for a pole saw, you're dealing with a tiny little bar, a tiny little chain, and a very long shaft. You guys see that sitting there on the floor? Right there? And you have 3 connection points. So inside of that, so what do you think you're gonna get more torque out of? This long bar right here, where an engine is connected and trying to drive that bar to turn around, or this short bar, driving that, turning that around? When you're dealing with a long bar, a long pole like this, every time you add an extension, you're losing torque. It's like the drive shaft in your vehicle. The longer, underneath the truck, the longer that drive shaft is, the more it's gonna twist and the less torque you're gonna get. So your filing has to be a little bit different, because you don't wanna be up like this with that chain skipping and bouncing around because it's too hungry. Because what happens with a pole saw is when these little teeth run along that wood like this, right? If it's too hungry, if it grabs too much wood, it's gonna stop, and that long bar is gonna twist and it's gonna jump out of the wood. So it's gonna skip like this. It's gonna be messy. You're gonna be bogging down. So with a pole saw, you wanna have a much more modest filing. You don't wanna have an aggressive tooth. You don't wanna have your rakers down real low. You wanna have a very modest filing. All right, so when it comes to pole saw sharpening, you want it to be very modest. I'd rather a pole saw take longer to get through the wood, but be perfectly smooth and not be jumping around like this. So I'm gonna show you guys first how I maintain and clean my bar, and some common problems if you own one of the Trimmer Plus pole saw extensions. So I'm gonna bring you down here and we're gonna go over that. Okay, look at that. Yeah, I'll throw a little file on it, why not? Now, that's a very modest file. There's absolutely no C on that at all. I like to put a little bit of a C on it. But here, let's get this thing thrown on. We got this right here, and you can see how flat the tooth is. There's absolutely no C involved in this. And it would probably cut pretty smooth, but it's gonna be, very dull within one use. So I'm gonna go ahead and give that just a little bit more of a C. I'm gonna come in like this. Perfect. See that? That's all I needed. Just a little bit of a C. And if you want it to be more aggressive, what you would do with your file is the more you turn it this way and file, the more aggressive it's gonna be. The more you do this, the more aggressive it's gonna be. And the deeper you bring that file back into this, the more aggressive it's gonna be too. There's some folks out there who may laugh at me, but I'll tell you what, filing your pole saw is every bit of important as it is with your chainsaw. if you're a guy who does residential tree work and you're not climbing every single tree, pole saw is your bread and butter. Learn to file. And learn to file both ways too, because you don't want to be doing half the chain and then doing the half the chain. This is, once you get this down, it'll go faster. I used to hate the feeling of that in my hands, that now I love it. I literally look forward to it. Every time I cut, I file just a little bit different than the last time. And I do it on purpose. It gives me a different result every time. And sometimes it gets a little worse, but most of the time it'll get better. Just remember what works for you and your type of wood. Well, that one's a bit aggressive. Let me take some of that top plate away. Cool. I think we're done. I think so. Yeah, we're done. All right, so we're done with that. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna fire it up and we're gonna see how she cuts. All right, let's do this. There she goes. Take the choke off. Like that knee assist. Look at this. A tip if you're using a pole saw, you got this handle, put another handle on there. So when you're out here, and this handle for when you're way up there. It's beautiful. See that? You shouldn't have to lay your pole saw on the dogs to have it cut smooth. That's a great file right there. I just figured that out. But Oregon chains once again. Looks like the weather's starting to change on us, so I don't know if we're gonna do much more. But look at the lawn, guys. I haven't had any time. Look. Look at that. Look. It's hurricane season here in Florida, so look at the lawn. Hope you guys have a nice night. I'm gonna maybe do a little weed whacking before the sky opens up and get in there and spend some time with the old lady. All right, y'all, take care.